The year's 2022 and we've had an incredible influx of new golfers to the game, and I want to create the ultimate beginner's guide when building a premium bag on not really that much money. Why chuck money at a club that's going to be so unforgiving just in its natural state when you could be much better off putting money, time, effort, practice definitely at other parts of the game that are going to reduce your score immediately? Guys, how you doing? Welcome back to a brand new video. Simon down here at rather wet Sanford Springs Golf Club. The only day that I can get out and do some filming. Got the kids all day tomorrow. So this is the day we're out here in the elements, and I absolutely ripped that tailor-made V-Steel 5 wood. What a throwback, what an OG of a golf club. And today we're going to talk about, if you were a beginner, or if I was a beginner starting this game with the knowledge that I have now, what brands would you pick in particular places and how would you build the bag? I think that's the most confusing bit for a lot of people. They just feel like they have to have driver 3 wood, 2 rescues, 5 to 6 irons, and then 50,000 wedges and a putter, alignment sticks, GPS, you name it. So that's what we're going to have a look throughout today's video. If you like this video, leave it a like, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into it. You have to love this game because I've rocked up, it's raining, the ground is so wet. I'm using clubs that I've never used before, and I've just made par on one of the hardest holes at Sanford, and I could stand there with the finest equipment in the world on a sunny day and still make bogey. So let's start at the top end of the bag with the big stick, and I've chosen the Wilson Staff D300 as my symbolic club to represent all the other clubs out there that are pretty much underappreciated. Now, they're not the best. I'm not saying this is going to be the most forgiving driver, nor would, let's say, the best performing driver would be Ben Ross, or let's say an old Mizuno, but these are ones that will be going for cheap, and if you're patient you'll find one of these for 50-60 pounds, as I'm showing you on the screen here. And it's a 460cc head. It's got no adjustable weighting, which means that it's pretty much all built for forgiveness, and it's a starting point for you to learn. It took me 5 years from when I started golf at 19 to probably about 24, playing the pinnacle of my golf game, to master the driver. It takes an incredible amount of technique, timing, rhythm. It's the longest club in the bag with the least amount of loft. Side spin's going to kill you at any given direction. Therefore, why chuck money at a club that's going to be so unforgiving just in its natural state when you could be much better off putting money, time, effort, practice definitely at other parts of the game that are going to reduce your score immediately. Now, moving on to the fairway wood and also the rescue itself, I mean, I honestly couldn't care what you bought as long as it's a 5 wood. I just feel like when you start the game, you just need more loft than anything else. You're more likely going to be coming across the ball. You're more likely going to be quite steep, and loft is your friend when you start. These V-Steels were the bee's knees back in the day. I've already shown you hitting it. I won't hit that off this tee. I'll actually hit this left-handed. Obviously, don't change dexterity in your golf game, but it's the only one that I thought could represent what I wanted to talk about when it comes to rescues. This is going to kind of be your friend, or maybe a 7 wood realistically, or if you're a big hitter like a Ping G crossover, like a driving iron, whatever this club entails, i.e. the blend between your irons and your woods, needs to kind of be your favorite club, because when you're starting this game, trust me, you're going to be using it a lot. It's going to be out the rough, it's going to be out the fairway, it's going to be potentially off a long par 3. So therefore, the reason I chose Mizuno is because they're just as expensive as all the other big brands, but when it comes to second hand, they just come out cheap. I think you can get this for like 50-60 pounds, and again, top end of the bag here added up in total 60 to 70, 20, 25 pounds, 50. So overall, for 130 pounds, 140 pounds, you've kind of completed the top end of the bag, and it blends very nicely. This will gap very nicely to this, and vice versa. The big stick, forgiving for when you're starting the game. As you can tell from that shot there, left-handed practice has gone out through the window. I think I underestimated 2 kids and everything else I'm trying to pursue at the moment. But it's a very good point, and I want to show you that shot because that club face was open 30 degrees to the target. Do you know what I mean? And there's no club shaft or manufacturer in the world that's going to solve that. So yes, I understand. Just like I'm showing with this bag, I think the bag looks incredible from a distance. I think it looks well coordinated, it looks expensive, it looks modern, but at the same time you're not paying £2 for a set of clubs that still produces that shot. The only thing that's going to stop that is lessons and your time practicing, and that's the whole point of this game. Why are we in such a rush to complete it? We've got our entire lives, or rest of our lives, in this game of golf to spend out in the fresh air, sunshine, with your friends and get better gradually. Don't be in such a rush to splash money at this game to fix your problems, because I can tell you now, it's not going to make you enjoy the game anymore.
If you want to know what excites me about this game, it's that shot there. A £120 iron set from Wilson, D100, and I have flushed that pitching wedge so well, I wouldn't be able to tell you what the club's made out of. Forged, tungsten weighting, hollow back, you name it, all the marketing stuff that we see. But because my pitching wedge technique is somewhat sound, it really doesn't matter. Now again, I'm not saying these are the best cavity back irons in the world, and to be honest, this is to symbolise pretty much what the driver did as well. I think Wilson staff is heavily underrated when it comes to their irons. Unlike, for example, Mizuno. I mean, Mizuno, I would say, arguably the best irons to ever get fitted for at a majority of places. But you see that with the price, and you see the demand for them. And if you're starting the game, I don't want you to spend £400, £300 on a second-hand iron set just because it's got a badge slapped on the back of it. These cavity back irons, just like Lynx, just like Ben Ross, just like Adams, all these brands that don't necessarily have the marketing budget, tour players, etc., do produce some of the best clubs for the money that you are paying for them. Obviously,
hopefully you can still see me at this point throughout the rain. Wedge is an incredibly interesting one for me, and I've only put one wedge in this bag, and mainly to simplify, just be very basic with your wedge game when you're starting this. Yes, if you're off 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, put 3 wedges in the bag, blend it. Maybe you don't even have a 9-iron, you're that kind of player, you've got a 46 Vokey in the bag, and that's all good. But when you're starting the game, don't make the mistake that I made. I had 3 wedges, and I had 3 different shots with 3 different wedges, and playing off 16, 17, 18, it just wasn't worth it, because let's be honest, when it came down to pressure and I had to hit this 20-yard, 25-yard shot, I just thinned it out the back because I never had a go-to, and I was always being so trying to be so blasé with everything, trying to hit flop shots like I saw on Sky Sports. And I'll show you the chip shots here. This would have been my old technique, loads of wrist, trying to hit flop shots everywhere, loads of height, loads of spin, basically showing off. And in practice rounds this would work, but realistically over time, years, now I just putt everything. I putt everything, all my wedges, even my pitching wedge. This time of year I'd even go to a 9-iron, bump and run it, because it's the percentage play. So therefore, when it comes to a wedge and you're a beginner, don't spend more than 30 to 40 pounds on a wedge. Make sure it's got a decent grip and it's got 56 degrees loft if you've only gone down to, let's say, a sand wedge, or potentially have 2 wedges if you've gone to pitching wedge in your iron set, and then have like a 50 and then a 58, or 52 and a 58, and then play about with those. And the 58 realistically is just for your bunker shots, it's just for the shot, so you have to get over obstacles. The 52 is your 60, 70, 80 yard shot, as well as your bump and runs. And just don't be clever with it. At the start, you just haven't got the technique and timing with your hands to utilize any 150 pound wedge. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I made when I started this game. 450 pounds on wedges I couldn't even use. So let's move on to putters to finish off with. And I've changed my tune. I think probably about 2-3 years ago when I made the first video, I spent about £300 pretty much on the Ping G series irons, and I'm pretty sure at the time I would have said just get a cheap putter, anything. Cleveland, yes, and there's nothing wrong with these putters by any stretch of the imagination, but I said technique overrules absolutely everything. You should just go out, practice 100 hours, 6 foot, 9 foot, 12 foot, X, Y and Z, and then once you've done that, go and get club fitted for a proper putter. And that still makes some sense, but I've changed my tune. And the reason I changed my tune is because I've been doing this 2 years, and putters are basically kind of like watches. The older they get and the better condition that you keep them in, the more value that they retain and hold. And And putters is the only club in this game that you can do this with. You can't do this with your driver, and you can't do this with your wedges and irons because you're hitting them at 90 miles an hour into turf. Putters, you're not. This TaylorMade Rosser Itsy Bitsy Spider putter is perfect for a beginner. High MOI, looks good, looks modern, and it's roughly about $54.99. I know it's $54.99 because I sold one. Well, I sold this one for $54.99 last night. So, but my point being is you could go and buy a Scotty Cameron £150. You can go and buy a Scotty Cameron £200 putter, and if it's older than 6 to 7 years and you keep that bad boy in good condition with the original grip and the head gleaming, shaft intact, decals, everything else, you're not going to lose money on it. So therefore I would spend probably all the rest of the budget on a gleaming, shining, brand new putter for you to still practice that 100 hours with. It's so important, that lower end bag practice, because it's going to transform your game. And to have this symbolic, majestic trophy of a putter at the bottom end of your bargain build, I think represents exactly where your head is and exactly where your game's going to go. Right guys, there we have it. Very wet video. Thank you ever so much if you haven't made it all the way to the end of this video. If you are interested in having one-to-one lessons and you're local with me, I have my online coaching diary in the description. Please go and check that out. Leave this video a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you are new. Catch you guys out.